Laudetur Jesus Christus. Vatican and World News.
Today, Tuesday, March 8th, is the feast of Saint John of God, founder of the Fate Bene Fratelli, the Brothers Hospitallers. March 8th is also observed around the world as International Women's Day. And these are today's headlines. Pope Francis returns to Rome after his historic 4-day apostolic journey to Iraq. Protests continue in Senegal over the arrest of a prominent opposition figure. And in Equatorial Guinea, massive explosions rocked the port city of Bata on Sunday. In the Vatican, I'm Christopher Wells. Our top story this morning, Pope Francis today wrapped up his historic apostolic journey to Iraq, which aimed at bringing hope to the country's marginalized Christian minority with a message of coexistence, forgiveness, and peace. The Holy Father was seen off at Baghdad's International Airport, from whence he left for Rome. Robin Gomes tells us more.
Pope Francis left Iraq Monday morning, bringing the curtain down on the historic 33rd apostolic journey of his pontificate, the first ever by a pontiff to the Middle Eastern country. After celebrating Mass in private at the Apostolic Nunciature, the Pope left for Baghdad's International Airport. Awaiting him at the airport were President Barham Salih and his wife. There were no speeches. After the two leaders held a brief private meeting at the lounge, the president and his wife escorted the pontiff over a red carpet to the steps of the aircraft, where he greeted Iraqi and Vatican delegations before boarding the airplane. An Alitalia aircraft carrying him, his delegation and reporters flew out of the Iraqi capital at 9:54 a.m. and headed for Rome, where he touched down some 5 hours later at 12:20 p.m. The 4-day foreign visit, which began on Friday, came after a gap of a little over 15 months because of the COVID-19 pandemic. During the 4 days in Iraq, Pope Francis made Baghdad his base, from where he flew to Najaf, Ur, Erbil, Mosul and Karakosh in the south and north of the country. In the spirit of the motto of the apostolic journey, "You are all brothers," the 84-year-old pontiff encouraged Iraqis on the path of fraternal solidarity and coexistence. Sunday surely was the most poignant of the 4 days when the Pope visited Erbil, Mosul and Karakosh in the north, where Christians as well as others faced the brutality of the Islamic State IS terrorism 2014 to 2017. Listening to the stories of the Muslims and Christians who bore the IS terror, Pope Francis blessed their resolve to rise from the ashes. At a prayer for the dead, Pope Francis stressed, fraternity is more durable than patricide, hope is more powerful than hatred, peace more powerful than war. I'm Robin Gomes.
Aboard the papal flight on the way back to Rome, Pope Francis answered questions put to him by journalists, according to his usual custom, holding a press conference on the voyage back from an apostolic visit. Linda Bordoni has this report on the Pope's remarks.
Dedicating some 50 minutes to answer journalists' questions, as is customary during the return flight of an apostolic journey, Pope Francis looked back on some of the most salient moments of his time in Iraq, repeatedly indicating the path to human fraternity as the only possible way forward. He upheld his meeting with Grand Ayatollah al-Sistani as yet another step in interreligious dialogue, after the signing of his document on human fraternity with the Grand Imam al-Tayyib 2 years ago. Admitting that he has been criticized by some for undertaking this path, he said there are risks, but these decisions are always taken in prayer. And he described al-Sistani to be a great sage, a man of God, and said that the meeting did good to his soul. The Middle East, the moving testimony of its suffering Christians, the millions forced to flee were all topics he touched on as he answered questions about his first journey abroad in 15 months due to coronavirus restrictions. Confessing that the journey has left him more fatigued than previous ones because of his increasing age, the Pope said he felt reborn after feeling imprisoned by COVID-19 precautions. One reporter asked if he worried that people who came to see him in Iraq could get sick, but the Pope said that the journey took place after much reflection and prayer. He spoke of the pain he felt to see the rubble of buildings and ancient churches in Mosul, and said he was shocked by the unbelievable cruelty that took place in the region. Pope Francis revealed he wants to visit Lebanon as soon as possible to show solidarity with the people of all religions suffering there. And he ended with words of consideration for women on this International Women's Day. In some parts of the world, he concluded, women are still slaves, and we have to fight, to struggle for the dignity of women. They are the ones who carry history forward. And this, he said, is not an exaggeration. It's not a compliment just because today is Women's Day. I'm Linda Bordoni.
Following Pope Francis' historic journey to Iraq, the Archbishop of Birmingham in England, Bernard Longley, has been reflecting on the visit, saying it will give impetus to dialogue in Iraq and beyond. The Archbishop, who has responsibility for interreligious matters at the Bishops' Conference of England and Wales, spoke with Lydia O'Kane.
I thought it was a most extraordinary weekend and has been a truly remarkable and extremely important apostolic visit to Iraq. The significance of the meeting with representatives, with the Ayatollah and other representatives of different faiths within that setting, I think, well, two impacts. I think both the meetings themselves have their own intrinsic value, but also I think that they have a hugely symbolic significance. The Holy Father and those with whom he's met have been demonstrating that there is a way of dialogue that is possible, and it is the way that we choose. And I think that will give enormous encouragement, not only to the Christian communities in Iraq and those who have connections with them and the Christian communities throughout the world, but I think also within our local settings too. It will also give an impetus to our own dialogues, our interreligious and interfaith work locally. And it's certainly something that I'm looking forward to discussing with my own group of faith leaders, the Birmingham Faith Leaders Group in the city here.
Archbishop Bernard Longley of Birmingham, England, spoke with phone with Vatican Radio's Lydia O'Kane. And you can find the full interview and listen to the Archbishop's reflections on our Vatican web portal at www.vaticannews.va. Elsewhere in world news, citizens took to the streets in protest in Senegal after Ousmane Sonko, a leading opposition leader, was arrested last week. At least 5 people have been killed in clashes with security forces in the past few days. Father Benedict Mayaki has that story.
Widespread demonstrations broke out in Senegal in recent days as many flocked to the streets in protest against the arrest of the country's leading opposition figure. Ousmane Sonko, a vocal critic of the governing elite in Senegal, was arraigned in court on Friday, accused of disrupting public order, and he also faces a rape allegation. Sonko, however, denies the rape charge. The opposition leader's arrest on Wednesday was a trigger for many Senegalese youths, among whom Sonko is popular, to come out in protest, which continued through Friday. Although tensions appeared to have eased by Saturday, the opposition collective, which includes members of Sonko's party, called for further protests beginning on Monday. In addition to calling for Sonko's release, the young people also aired a range of other grievances, including few job opportunities and a worsening economic atmosphere induced by the COVID-19 pandemic. News reports indicate that at least 5 people have been killed during the protests in clashes with security forces in various parts of the country. Tensions remain high as Sonko is due to arrive before a judge in the capital, Dakar, on Monday to face questions about the charges brought against him. Senegalese police arrested Sonko last week after scuffles with his supporters broke out while he was on his way to court to answer a rape charge filed against him by an employee at a beauty salon where he received massages. Police say that they arrested him for disrupting public order when he refused to change his route to the court. I'm Father Benedict Mayaki.
Elsewhere in Africa, in Equatorial Guinea, massive explosions rocked a port city on Sunday, leaving at least 20 people dead, 600 more wounded, and a trail of destruction in their wake. The blasts in Bata appear to be accidental, as Devin Watkins reports.
A series of massive blasts rocked a city in Equatorial Guinea on Sunday. Hundreds of people were wounded in Bata and several were killed as a result of the explosions. The president of the Central African nation, Teodoro Obiang, said the incident was the result of negligent handling of dynamite. He added that nearly every house and building was damaged in Bata, a city with a population of around 250,000. President Obiang expressed his support for all those affected. The Defense Ministry said in a statement that a fire at a weapons depot in the barracks caused the explosion of high-caliber ammunition. An investigation has been launched into the incident. The blast rocked Bata at around 4 p.m. local time on Sunday. State television carried images of huge plumes of smoke rising from the military base. Local TV showed rescue teams pulling people from piles of rubble and residents screaming and running through the streets amid smoke and debris. Roofs appeared to have been blown off many houses, even those made of iron. Most residences were left with only 1 or 2 walls standing. As the wounded flooded hospitals in Bata, the National Health Ministry urged citizens to donate blood and called for health workers to volunteer their assistance. Equatorial Guinea lies south of Cameroon in Central Africa and has a population of 1.3 million. The oil-rich nation was a Spanish colony until independence in 1968. Bata lies on the western coast and acts as a major port city and transportation hub. Spain's embassy in Equatorial Guinea urged Spanish nationals to stay in their homes as Bata deals with the devastation left from the blasts. I'm Devin Watkins.
Finally, each year on March 8th, we celebrate International Women's Day. The global theme for 2021 is Women in Leadership, Achieving an Equal Future in a COVID-19 World. Pope Francis has often spoken out about the contribution women make to the Church. Today, we still need to make greater space for a more incisive feminine presence in the Church. The Pope has said recently, I mean a lay presence, he continued, but underlining the feminine aspect because women are often put to one side. He made those remarks during an Angelus address in October. The Holy Father has also appointed women to high-ranking roles in the Roman Curia, notably naming Sister Natalie Burkhardt as an undersecretary to the General Secretariat of the Synod of Bishops earlier this year. Last week, ahead of International Women's Day, Francesca Merlo spoke with Alexandra Valkenburg, the first woman to serve as the EU's representative to the Holy See. Ambassador Valkenburg spoke about the increasingly prominent role of women in both secular roles and at the Vatican.
Obviously, I think this is a very good development and we should strive to strengthen our role at all levels. And I think, in the EU, we obviously have a very good example with the President of the Commission, Ursula von der Leyen. I think she is an inspiration for many. And on the Vatican side, I see a Pope that is really interested in giving women more roles and responsibilities within the Church, where that fits within the framework and the teachings of the Church. I think he's inspirational to quite some women in the Church. The last nomination for the Synod of Bishops. But also if you read his book, Let Us Dream, the positive way he speaks about the role of women there in leadership roles, I think that's truly positive and an inspiration to many.
That brings us to the end of this edition of Vatican and World News. I invite you to visit our web portal at www.vaticannews.va for full coverage of the Pope's trip to Iraq. I'd also like to thank our producers and technicians who make this broadcast possible. In the Vatican, I'm Christopher Wells.